Let's talk about your money and how it never feels like it's enough. And don't worry, I'm not here to tell you that money doesn't matter. Money does matter. It probably matters more than you think in some ways, but it just doesn't do what you think it does. See, my dad was a cab driver, an overly educated cab driver with a master's degree, but that's the only job he was able to do when he came to Canada. Not to romanticize the struggle, because I also grew up in a time where cab drivers could make a living wage. But as I started making more money and more doors opened up for me, it felt amazing, but I also felt this whiff of guilt and frustration. I started seeing and learning things my dad could never have shown me or taught me. It just showed me how many sandbags were tied around his neck the whole time. The information he never had access to. The game he was never put onto. The rooms he never got into. The conversations he was never invited to be a part of. See, the game is rigged, and it's not always in the most obvious ways. Most often, it's in the nobody told you the rules kind of way. And listen, I get it. Most of life is fuck around and find out. And even if my dad was a hedge fund manager, which he would have been qualified to be, I'm sure I would have still had gaps in how the game is played. So I'm not here to be idealistic and tell you to stop chasing money. I'm just here to tell you to be mindful of how much you dial up your energy and sacrifices in the pursuit of money. And also just to be aware of what else you're trading for it. I say this because even though I don't have the amount of money you're dreaming of, you know I know the people that do. And I can say with complete confidence, I don't wish I could trade places with any of them. Maybe one of them. Maybe. He travels on a private jet with his bike and his dog, and he just visits friends endlessly around the world. But I probably still wouldn't trade with him because he's 20 years older. I remember the first time real money hit my account. And I mean real money. The kind where you stare at the number and think, this is actually mine. It's here. No one can take it. I can spend it. I can cash this out in singles and swim in it. Well, realistically, I'm Canadian, so swimming in loonies would probably not be very comfortable. But for me, it really hit because it felt like I did something that wasn't supposed to be possible from where I started. And for me, someone who was very broke once and left his day job to chase his humble the poet life, it felt like 10 billion pounds off my shoulders. And honestly, here's the pro tip. Never look at the dollar amount. Always look at the money as time, because time is more valuable than money. How much time does this money buy me? 1 month, 3 months, 6 months? The first big check for me bought me 3 years. 3 years of money. The next big check bought me 6 years of money. There was a sense of safety and relief, and I didn't buy anything expensive. I just felt safe, and I just sat in that. But eventually, I felt so safe, I started taking more risks, and I started increasing my expenses. All of a sudden, a year's worth of money turned into 3 months as my chosen bills got bigger. So when I got that 6 years worth of money, my lifestyle upgrades brought it down to 2 years. You gotta understand, money fixes money problems. And that part is real. The stress of not being able to cover rent, the embarrassment of saying no to things, the weight of watching other people move through the world with options that you can't afford. When money shows up, some of that lifts. Genuinely. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. And I'll be honest, there were moments where having money protected me from bullshit other people had to deal with. And that felt good. That made me feel gracious. I had gratitude for that. And it kept me going. Money can insulate you from a lot of bullshit. But a lot is not all of it. I also remember being broke, daydreaming of sitting in expensive restaurants with cashmere sweaters on. I don't know why I was thinking about cashmere. I guess it's because it felt soft and looked expensive. Or it was the safest costume to hide in. Probably me just staring at people in nice restaurants who were already wearing the sweater. Years later, after being able to afford both of those, I'm still wearing sweats eating Chipotle. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been to some fancy ass restaurants. I once went to a world famous vegan restaurant with a world famous vegan friend who paid, and the bill for both of us came out to $800 American. No alcohol, just food, vegan food. No animals were harmed in the making of that ignorant ass bill. And I still had to grab a slice of $1.50 pizza after because I was still hungry. The years of being broke taught me how little I actually needed. And the key word here is needed. Much of that stuff lost its value when I learned to live without it. That was the gift. Oftentimes our survival mode isn't actually to survive for our life, it's just to keep a lifestyle. My broke times made me look at money in a different way. And the people I envied the most were the ones that had a lot but didn't flex or spend. It was just there. My buddy who sold his company for 8 figures and still wakes up at 6 in the morning to go to the gym. Even though the type of girls he needs to meet aren't showing up until 1 p.m. Or my buddy that will fly a private jet to bring his dog and his bike on trips. But he still asks the Uber driver if it's okay to bring a coffee into the car. Coffee which he makes himself with a kit he carries in a backpack. You just gotta remember, there's always a day after. You get the number, you feel it, and then without really noticing, it becomes normal. The new amount becomes the floor. The safety becomes invisible. The way all safety eventually becomes invisible. Because your wiring stops registering things it's gotten used to. It's like upgrading your life. Bigger place, nicer things, and 2 weeks later, it's just where your laundry sits. You're not richer, you're just standing on higher ground. looking up at a bigger mountain. You think money's gonna fix it. Then you get money. Then you get used to the money. Then you want more money. Same feeling, different number. The number changes. The wanting doesn't. That's not a money problem. That's a you problem. That's a me problem. That's a human problem. The money problems go quiet and then something interesting happens. The other problems get louder. The relationship stuff, the family stuff, the health stuff, they were always there. The money just muffled them out for a while, giving you something to blame the feeling on, something to fix. There's a reason the Apple TV show Your Friends and Neighbors work. Everybody has money, tastes, fancy countertops, and secrets. Nobody needs anything except therapy, honesty, boundaries, purpose, connection, and maybe a hug. Turns out granite islands can't absorb childhood trauma. When you fix it and the feeling doesn't fully go away, that's when things get confusing. Because if it wasn't about the money, then what was it? And that's the scary part. Because now there's nothing left to blame. It turns out the hole inside of us was never shaped like money. You just assumed it was because money is the closest thing you could point to. In 2017, I did a commercial for Apple. I made really good money. It was more than I had ever seen. And during that time, I also injured my back. So when the money came, I had to walk with a cane to the bank just to cash the check. And I realized, what does any of this matter if I can't walk, if I can't sit, if every morning starts with figuring out how to get through the day without feeling all this pain? So you got to realize time is something you can't earn more of. Health matters more than money. We spend most of our time and our health trying to get money. And I'm not blaming comfort. Comfort is good. We like comfort. Comfort is good. Comfort is the point. Comfort is the point of a lot of human effort. I live in one of the most expensive cities on earth. I like novelty. I like good food and good travel, not having to think too hard about whether I can afford something. But over time, comfort is quietly killing your ability to handle discomfort. Comfort solves problems, then creates softer people. Give someone enough comfort and convenience, and suddenly they need emotional support because the Wi-Fi is slow. The more insulated you get, the more uninsulated parts hurt. You become someone who can afford to avoid the hard things, and avoiding the hard things consistently makes you worse at hard things. Wealth can do that if you're not paying attention. Not dramatically, just slowly. The muscles you used to have for sitting with uncertainty, for pushing through, for being okay when things aren't okay, it atrophies quietly until you need it, and it's not there in the way it used to be. See, there's only two tax brackets that matter: enough and not enough. Everything else, every number between where you are and where you think you need to be, is a story, a distance you invented, a gap that will exist at every income level until you decide it doesn't. I'm not saying don't want more. I'm saying notice that the wanting doesn't stop when you get there. It just relocates. Because the game was never designed to have a finish line. It was designed to keep you playing. The point was never to win. The point was to keep you believing the next level would finally be the one that felt like enough. When I was at my brokest, I isolated. I pulled away from people. I told myself it was necessary, and honestly, it probably was. I was building something and I needed to focus. But when things got hard in a different way, when the bat gave out and the money was there, but everything else wasn't, what I missed wasn't the work, it wasn't the wins, it was the people I put on hold while I was chasing this. And I realized a lot later than I should have that relationships were more valuable than the number in the account. Not as a nice thing to say, just as a fact about what actually makes things feel okay versus what didn't. You can lose money and make it back. You can't get back the time you spend on the wrong things. But hey, at least the couch was comfy. This couch is great. Expensive couches are great. Highly recommend expensive couches. The couch does not fix the other stuff though. Getting a house so big that your couch doesn't even touch a wall won't fix it either. So here's where we're gonna land. Get your money, genuinely. If you're not at enough, hustle to get there. Don't let anyone romanticize being broke to you. It's not a character building experience. It's just hard, and the access that comes with money is real and it matters. But be honest with yourself about what you're trading, and be ready for the moment where you get the thing and realize the feeling didn't arrive the way you thought it would. Realizing that you adapted faster than you expected, and that mountain you just finished climbing revealed a taller one. Get the million, get the two. I hope you do. I just want you to remember this conversation for the day after. When the number is real and the feeling is smaller than you expected, that's when you'll understand. Enough was never a number. It was a decision.